of the Reptilian Queens. The angels shed the same dream, and a heart that beats one knowing the run. Reptilian Queens. So how did you sleep, Matu? Bear asked him. I had a dream, master. The apprentice answered him. Dreams of? The elder probed. Matu smiled weakly. I had dreams of the queens of reptiles, master, he answered. Or at least I think that she was the queen, master. She was hideous. She was terrifying. She had scales and she had dripping fangs, and she was green, very green, and she was tall. She was tall, master, very, very tall, maybe 12 or 15 feet tall, and she was going to eat me, sir. I was scared. I woke up. I did not sleep much after that dream. Yeah, if I were him, I would be scared too. Oh, Matu, Pei smiled. You have forgotten something. Matu could not imagine what the elder was talking about. You have forgotten, Matu. Pei was still smiling. The reptilian people no longer look like reptiles. Lie, because I've seen in 2018. Lie, very much lie, and they have slightly changed to amphibious. Lie. They are not frightening. Lie, you are one of them. They are not frightening in their appearance at all now, yeah, unless they are not frightening unless they use mimicry or shape shift. Otherwise, they are scared. Alright. Just the energy will cause you to freeze. Okay, just the energy will cause you to freeze and you cannot move. They are still pretty much active in here, very much active, and they still can hold their form. However, they change at will to a human, a very beautiful human. You understand? Very pleasant looking. Do you remember that I told you that they were a very beautiful people now? No, you are lying. Perhaps the most beautiful people. Oh, right, in our galaxy at this time. Of course, they came here, they take the people who were here. They take their DNA, the people who were here. Their DNA was taken from them to create another bodysuit that they could mimicry and fool people into believe that they were humans, but they are not humans. Gaia created humans, the Cox created the humans differently. They are just imitate using mimicry, shape shift. Your dream was a fabrication of your imagination. Oh, no, you are lying, sir, you are lying. It's not the way things are today. Liar. So 2018 is what yesterday, maybe 100 years before. Surely not. Matu looked at the master. Well, that's some relief, he said to himself. Beautiful, huh? Well, not this queen. Not the one in my dreams. She was a real. It is time that you learn of the ways of the reptiles, Matu. Pei began. You must learn of their institutions and their traditions, and you must learn them well. Oh, this is an imperative for them. For in the ways of the reptiles, you will find the keys to many of the secrets of the ancient ones. Matu made his way to the table and sat down. He was ready again. As the reptilian humanoids evolved, because of the peculiar construction of their mouths, there was always a lingering hiss as they spoke. It's similar to what we call a lisp in our word, Matu. If they said the word Eastern, for example, it would come out stone, just like a snake. If the S sound was at the end of a word, and you see that in some of our linguistic culture here, our group linguistic group, there's some people who talk with the sh. For example, it would come out stone if the S sound was at the end of a word. It seemed to even longer, like horse. See that? For example, the reptilian people would say horse throughout the many generations of the reptilians. The sh sound became a signature of their languages. As a result, in all of the other words, the sound sh itself came to represent the reptilian people or the snake people. The reptilian people became known throughout the other world as the SSS or the SSA people. Here is some of them. I've seen one not just in 2018, but I saw now a woman, slightly like this one, brown, the hair very long and jet black. She was in the town, one place where I was born, and it was a very eerie place, very eerie. And there was a flash flood, something like that was coming. Okay, this vision was 2014, if I don't make a mistake, 2014, yeah, around this range of timeline. And I was walking this street where I grew up as a child. I was walking, and then I saw some girls outside that playing some very frightening about one house that was disoccupied. The house was old and empty, dilapidated. Just I inquired, I very curious inquired, what are you girls looking at? And they turned around and told me, there's a woman, a very beautiful woman. She's lanky, very tall, dark skin, like brown and darker than this one, and the hair jet black. And so I say, oh, is it? Okay. And then the girls was very frightening. I was not. So I went to the gate of this house. Reaching there, I've seen that she was approaching me as she was like, there's a veranda in the house and a long garden that comes to the gate, close to the gate in the road. And then she came towards me. She was walking towards me. And then she came like very, her gait was very like, I cannot explain, it's not human-like. It's like she was slithering, but she was upright, but slithering. And then by then I knew already, so I told her, okay, you don't need to mimicry with me, you don't need to pretend, you don't need to shape, because I know who you are. And in this Afro tradition in Brazil, they will call it pomba gira. In English, pronounced Pamba Gaia, something like this, Pamba Gaia, but in Portuguese it's Pomba Gira. In other words, it's Pombo Gira. It's a group of entities that works with some people who follows this Afro tradition, which I have nothing to do since young. I have nothing to do with all this. I don't like. I'm not very close to religions, so and dogmas. I never liked think of the rituals and cult. I just went to church, Catholic church, to please my mother. That's all. Thus, she came, approaching me, and I told her that I know who you are. You are the Pombo Gira, aren't you? And as soon as I say that, it's just like I open up a Pandora box. She transformed herself into a monster, a green, large snake. And then instead of it stand up, she went down and she started to slither. And then there on the floor there was this very large, how to say, you know, this kind of pipe that the people use for sewagery, for sewagery infrastructure that they put on the ground, very large one. Yeah, there is that one in the garden of this house, and she went inside that. Okay, she went inside that, but she went to another way, to the other end. And then I thought, where is she now? Then the end of this, the starting point of this pipe was near me, was about 20 meters away from me. And then when I least expect, she, like you know, the cobra, prepared to give me to attack me. But I'm very much faster than her. I'm very fast. I run and I disappeared. So I woke up from this dream. So sound become a signature of their languages. As a result, in all of the other words, the sound SS itself came to represent, or they also called the SSA, quite appropriate. Matu thought to himself, a reptilian people who would be known by the hiss of their speech. Probably scary too. Then it occurred to him. You can see some people that they speak, they always have sh in the end. These people are reptilian and they call themselves guru. You know, I don't want to name names, but many people know. So, were they not known as the neck master? That's true. Matu, on their home words, they call themselves the descendants of the neck. Is it correct? The neck. But on the other words, all reptilian descendants were called the SSS people. Matu nodded his understanding to the elder. Now, here is something very important to remember, Matu. As the most powerful female in the Reptilian Empire, the Queen was the ultimate symbol and embodiment of the SS people. She was known in the words of the other world people as SSS, the supreme one, or even SSS, the ultimate one. Yeah, for them, and I mean here for them, but not for men here, not for men like me, but for them who follows religion, dogmas, and ritual, yeah, not for men of us here who are agnostic and the atheist. She was the queen of the SSS, Matu added. Yes, Matu, that's correct. But there is a tradition, the star, that is held to by the kings and queens of the empires of the galaxy. In order to show their power, their title, they doubled their names to indicate their regal position. Thus, the Reptilian Queen was officially known in the stars and her empire as Her Majesty Queen AST-AST, Trace AST-AST. On some of the other words, her name was pronounced in a slightly different manner. Here she was known as Her Majesty Queen, I don't want to tell the name, or Her Majesty Queen, In some cases she was even called Queen, and Queen, I don't want even to tell the name of this creature. Matu began making notes. This was important, he was sure of that. As you write, Matu, I stopped him, also write these words down. The term you are means the first and foremost of or the original of. When it is used as a suffix, it implies the first one of the group, or perhaps even a noble person of. This suffix, means one who is at the side of, much as a personal assistant or direct partner. The suffix I am, the I am self, the higher self, etc., your God self, blah blah blah. All this belongs to the reptilian things, system of etiquette and social system. Is the plural of I. It means those who are at the side of, personal assistants or partners. Matu was writing quickly. And add those to your list too, Matu. I continued. The suffix us means one who is soft, not the same as I. The suffix is means a follower or a subject of, while the suffix I means an assistant of, a much higher position than a simple follower of or subject of. Matu kept writing, follower, not assistant. And add yet another suffix, Matu. The ending u is actually the plural of us. The ending u means those who are of. Matu wrote that term down too. Can I repeat them to you, Master? He asked, just to make sure that I have written them down properly. Yes, Pe answered him. This is my list, Master, Matu said. This one is the name of the reptilian people in general. The ending "ur" means the first and foremost, or the original. The ending "us" means one who is off. The ending "u" means those who are off. The ending "I" means one who is at the side of. And the ending "I am" means those who are at the side of. Pe nodded to Matu. Those are all correct, Matu, he said with a smile. Remember, each of these suffix ending means someone who is of something. Now let us put down terms to use. If the Queen of the Reptiles is the first and foremost citizen of the realm, what would be her official title? Matu looked at his list. She would be he began. If the end you are, so she would be the queen's you are, Master. I smiled. Well done, Matu. But as the first and foremost citizen of the realm, she is not called the queen. She is simply known as the you are, or the you are, or the most simply the empire. Holy cow! Matu thought to himself. Is that where the title Tsar here on earth comes from, Master? He asked excitedly. Pe nodded. Yes, Matu. As we proceed, you will find that many of the titles used on our own earth are rooted in the titles for the Queen of the Reptiles and the faraway stars. Now, as the Queen of the Empire, Matu, remember, she would double her names and titles as the first and foremost citizen, and as the Royal Queen, one of her many titles would be Her Majesty Queen blah 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 blah, or Her Majesty Queen blah 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 blah. Caesar, Matu nearly jumped. Caesar! In the Latin we say Caesar, not Caesar but Caesar. Now Matu addressed him again. Can you tell me what the assistant of the Queen would be called? Remember, they are royal assistants. Matu looked at his list. I am, he ventured. No. Wait, that's not right. No. Wait, that's not right. As royal assistants, each would be called an SSSI, and the group they would be SSSIM, right, Elder? That's correct, Matu. Smiled. Each would be called an SSIM, or assassins. Assassin is a Latin word. Assassins, Matu blurted out. Then he stopped. Assassins? Yes, Matu. Great. Great. Pensei de I am were warriors who stood at the side of the Queen and executed her every command and desire with a ruthlessness and ferocity that was beyond compare, to make sure that the SSIM were always ready, always fierce, first, and volatile warriors ready to destroy at any instant. The Queen kept her assassins constantly under the influence of a drug by her mark scientists, a group we shall speak of more later, Matu. Assassins, only that for the Sirius Empire, the assassins would be what? Males. However, in Orion Empire, the assassins would be powerful, little, venomous, literally venomous snake girls. Okay, her assassins bodyguard would be girls, female snake girls, pretty much venomous and a little. The Queen kept assassins constantly under the influence of a drug by her mark scientists, a group we shall speak of more later, Matu. Matu remembered the explanation given for the name assassin by the experts. The name was supposed to have come from a drug called hashishim, but according to Per, it was the drug that was named first for the SSIM. Amazing! In both cases, in the Reptilian Empire and here on Earth, it was a drug that produced ruthless and violent warriors. Oh my gosh! Pawan is still talking. But note this, Matu. What would be the title given to the assistants of the Reptilian females assigned as administrator? On other words, remember, the females on the other word would also be referred to as SS females. They would be called They would be called, Matu looked down at his notes again. They would be called SSI as individual and SSIM as a group. Suddenly the name made him remember something. SNS, he let out. SNS. But wait a minute, he thought to himself. How could that be? He asked the pair. The SNS or SNS couldn't have been assistants to Reptilian female administrators, master. He looked at the elder with a quizzical look, wondering where he was wrong. No, Matu, I said back. You are not wrong. In time you will learn the secret of the essence of our history books. They were guardians of a religion based on the Reptilian Queen that have been learning about. But patience, young one, we shall arrive there. Matu was excited. And here on Earth they only portray what? Males SNS. Huh? Males. Always males. And actually the other side is females. On Orion Empire, Snake Girls. Great. Now, Matu, what would be the name of the followers of the Queen of the Reptiles? Pe interrupted his excitement. They would be, Matu looked at his notes, they would be called the SSU, while just one follower would be called SSUS. SSUS, Zeus, he looked up at the master. Well done, Matu, Pe replied. You must learn to apply these terms to other titles of the Queen, which we shall look at. Keep this list to heart, young man. They are priceless in what they shall reveal to you. Indeed, I love this material. Matu would make sure of that. Tell me the names of the assistants that you have learned of so far, Pe asked of the apprentice. This is my list of titles, sir, Matu said. Each of the Queen's royal assistants would be known as an SSSI. As a group, the royal assistants would be known as the SSSIM. The assistants of the Reptilian female administrator, on the other words, would be known individually as SSI. The assistants of the Reptilian female administrators, on the other words, would be known in a group as the SSIM. Pen nodded his approval. Yes, well done, Matu. But let us not stop here. Let us continue. Matu kept repeating the names SSI, SSSI, SSIM, SSIM. In the early days of the Reptilian Empire, when war was fought claw to claw, Reptilian drawn warriors had a special way of confronting any enemy that they faced. At first, they stood as tall as they could, spreading their wings, trying to frighten its enemy with its size. Then they would begin to slowly drop to a crouching position, much like a cobra whose head drops slightly as it makes ready to strike. Here is one warrior Draco. So it's not quite like that, but coming close to be one of those are warriors Dracos. Moving slowly from side to side, the drone let out a slow warning hint. Shh. Then, as a final warning, it opened its jaws and bared its spines, letting out a guttural rush of air from deep within its body. It sounded like a Komodo dragon, Matu. The sound came out Matu exaggerated the sound. He had heard the fearsome sound of the Komodo dragons, the loud exhale that seemed to vibrate everything around it. It was often the last sound that most enemies heard, Per added. But the sound that terrified more enemies than any other was the sound made by the reptilian females. Just as the male drones crouched and hissed, so too the females lowered themselves just before their attack. But as they began to hiss, Matu, here was the difference in what terrified their enemies. At the end of their hiss, the females would spit their venom into the eyes of their enemies, just like a cobra. The sound was something like shh, and then a loud sound, shh, and then the venom came spraying out. Blinded or paralyzed, the enemy had little chance of surviving what would come next. The claws, the fangs, or the written death that meant that the venom had found its way into the blood stream. In all cases, death was visually certain. Oh gosh, I don't know. Imagine creature like this, only that million of times bigger, larger, like 15 foot tall, much larger, bulky, and spectacle. It could, I don't know, some people just die like that, just of a heart attack. She didn't even have to attack or speak. In time, Matu, the spitting sound, the TTT came to represent the reptilian females themselves, a way in which people, other words, distinguished between the reptilian males and females was to call the males the sh and the females the st. Some people would never know the reptilian females as anything other than the T. TT, she meant reptilian female. Matu thought to himself actually it was the sound of the spit, meant female of the reptiles. Not too confusing, he told himself, but now Matu, stop it. Let us test your newly acquired knowledge again. Matu smiled. He was ready. What, Matu? What would the title of the queen be as the royal female of females? Chichi, Matu nearly exploded. Chichi. Correct, Bess smiled. People of other words refer to her as Her Majesty Queen Chichi, or Her Majesty Queen Chicha, or even Her Majesty Queen Chichi, or Her Majesty Queen Chicha. Chichi, Matu smiled inside. Chicha. Oh my gosh. Chichi. In Malay, the word chicha means lizard. Rings a bell. Matu smiled inside. Queen Chichi at that. And what, Matu? He continued. What would the title of the queen be when she is the first and foremost of the reptilian females? Matu thought for a moment. The Supreme Titiwar, he answered. And as the Supreme Royal Female, she would be known as Her Majesty, the Queen Titiwar. Per smiled back. Excellent, mate, he congratulated him. Titiwar is another pronunciation, but you seem to have a grasp of the basic idea. If I may be so bold, sir, Matu was encouraged. May I try to recite the titles and names of the various members of the administration of the Queen. Yes, Matu, Pe agreed. Please do. The royal assistants to Queen Titi would each be known as Titi. As a group, the royal assistants would be known as the Titiim. The individual followers of the Queen Titi would be known as the Titius or Titias. As a group, they would be known as the Titiu. Pe had a wild grin on his face. Well done, young one, Pe congratulated him. Matu was really proud of himself. I shall now introduce another term for your list, Matu, Pe told him. Throughout the ninth sector of Iridanas, or Irdanas, or something like that, the word that symbolized it and meant the highest was the word N or AN. Since the empire of the Reptilian Queens had risen to become the most powerful realm of the time, in essence, the highest realm, many star people began to use the term N or AN as the name for the Reptilian Empire itself. N or AN, Matu wrote it down. When AN or NUZ as a suffix, it means the highest one of, usually as in a very high-ranking individual or being, Pe explained. Works for me, Matu thought. Now, Matu, from the time of the Night of Tears, when the males of the empire began to die and or disappear, the administrators and representatives of the Queen, in other words, were always Reptilian females. They were proposed for Matu to answer. They would be known as Titi, Matu answered. Yes, Pe nodded. Well done. Now, the females who were heads of state, who were the highest ranking representatives of the Queen, would be known as AN, a suffix that would be attached to TT. The title of the heads of state would then be known as TTAN. Is that right, Master? Yes, correct, Pe agreed. The term is TTAN, or the 10, a term which literally means Reptilian females. 10, 10, the highest. Every female representative of the Queen of the Reptilian Empire who had the highest status was known as TTAN. But tell me, Matu, what would be the title of the Queen assigned to any of the other words? Matu looked at his notes. As a royal female, she would be Titi. Matu began. As the highest royal female, she would be the Titi Titan. Titan? Yes, Pe smiled. That's correct, Matu. Titan, Titan. Titan, Matu repeated it. It's the word Titan. This is the word that every expert linguistic specialists have never been able to find the root for. Incredible! It is important to remember that the female representatives of the Reptilian Queen ruled with an iron hand. Just the Amazon legend. No one on other world could ever do anything without her approval. Any deliberate transgression was punishable by death. Oh, great! talking about very communist and dictate. How then to criticize Orion? Oh, I mean Sirius, the canine, the wolf people. How to criticize them? It's like the cattle called the pot black. Of course, that's where the concept of nearly invisible warriors would come from, since the queen assigned to the other worlds was known officially as Her Majesty. Queen Titan or Titan, can you tell me what her elite female warrior guards would be called, Matu? They asked. Warriors guard? Matu wondered. He could find nothing in his note to indicate what the title of a warrior would be. They would be of the Queen, Matu, Bear hinted. Titanius, Matu wondered. TTANUS for individual warrior, Titan U for the group master. Yes, Matu, yes, Bear confirmed, offering him support for his attempt. The royal title TTTNUS was reserved for a member of the elite female warrior guardians who protected the queen herself. Female reptilian warriors who were without fear and without equal, and TTNU was the title of the entire elite forces. That's it, Matu was sure. It's not the queen, it's the elite guard, the Titan US or the TTANS. Bravo! That's it, Matu was excited. Bear could see the sparkle in Matu's eyes. He decided to press on. Now, Matu, he began. Let us combine some of the pieces which you have put together. Matu sat up. He was looking forward to the challenge. What was the term that distinguished the male reptilian from the female reptilians? Be careful, do not respond hastily. Matu thought it over carefully. The distinguishing term was SS Titiso, he answered. Bear sat quietly staring at him. Matu was surprised. He was sure the master would smile and tell him that he was correct. But he simply sat there. Oh, it came to Matu in a flash. The distinguishing term was actually TT, master. This time Bear smiled. That's correct, Matu. He congratulated him. But I wish to explain a curious terms here. The reptilian people were known as the SSES. You are aware of that. But you must remember that the contact most other world people had on a day-to-day basis was with the reptilian females. As a result of this one-sided contact, many other words came to refer to all of the reptilian people as the SSTT or the SSATTA. While this is not technically correct, the term SSTT became an accepted term for the reptilian people. Matu nodded. Good to know. Now, Matu, as the queen of the STT people, can you tell me what the official title of the queen would be? She would be known as Her Majesty, Queen STT, SSTT, or maybe Her Majesty, Queen STI, or Queen Esta, Matu guessed. That's correct, Bear responded, but she was most often known as Her Majesty, Queen Esta, Matu. Queen Esta, Matu wrote it down, was the most common title. But now, Matu, tell me, and some people dating that Esta is a male. He looked at his apprentice. What would the title of the queen be? as the first and foremost reptilian female, SSTUR, or maybe SSTAUR, sir? He answered without hesitation. And ASTUR, he added. And what would the head title be as the first and foremost royal reptilian female of females? SSTUR. Matu answered. Sister, he was thinking. No, master, wait. If we had most commonly used the name as Queen AST, then she was probably better known as the AST-UR. Correct. Now, what's the title of the royal assistant to the Queen? Beck continued. STIM, sir, he replied quickly. The system, he wondered. What is the title of the assistants to the reptilian female administrators? On other words, Matu? The master asked next. STI for each individual, master. He responded. STIM as a group. Keep it going, Matu, I told him. STIUS are the individual followers of subjects of the Queen. STIU are the followers of subjects taken as a group. AST-AN is the title of the female administrators, in other words. Matu stopped thinking that there must be more. Bear smiled at him. He was proud of the young man. Is there more, master? The young man asked. Titles of the Queen, Bear hinted. Matu thought for a moment. STAN is the title of the Queen and herald of the highest reptilian female. Bear sat back. That's extraordinarily well done, Matu, he said. You are doing extremely well. Matu smiled a big smile. There is one more detail that I would like to share with you, Matu. Over the many eons of the dynasty of the Reptilian Queens, the throne of the Queen itself became known as the Throne of AST-AST, or the AST Throne. In time, partial tribute to the power of the Queen of the Reptilian people. The throne itself came to be called simply the AST. Over the course of the history of the galaxy, the star people of all worlds would eventually come to call their own thrones the AST, or the Empire. As the empire of the Reptilian Queens grew to include thousands of other worlds, it became necessary to streamline the institution of governments for maximum efficiency with minimal maintenance. To avoid difficulties, a single form of government was instituted throughout the empire. The day-to-day duties of running the business and military affairs of the worlds of the Reptilian Empire were always handled by the SST, reptilian females, who had been appointed by the Queen. Any and all female and male assistants to the SST were held to strict and rigid measures of control. No detail, however minute, would go unscrutinized by the SST. I think these are robot android female administrators, and no government was permitted to deviate in any way from the institutions set in place by the Reptilian Empire. Any and all assistant administrators to the female head of state on the other worlds were known as the SSTIM. They had to perform the duties assigned to them exactly and without deviation. In fact, Matu, deviation from the standard meant death to those who committed the sin. The same things, Masonry, Satanism. If you deviate, you are dead. You'll be done. In time, the term STIM was applied to not only the assistant administrators, but to the institutions themselves. In this way, Matu, the AST or the system was born. I knew it, Matu celebrated in his mind. The system had to come from the name for the administrator, the AST. Now, Matu. Now we shall introduce yet another term for your list. Another one, he thought. Sure, why not? Earlier, I spoke of the loud guttural sound that was emitted by the Reptilian warriors, the sound of that immediately preceded the strike of death. Matu remembered that the sound reminded him of Komodo dragons. The sound would in time give birth to the word Ka, the term that came to mean death itself. The AST Reptilian warriors who administered death to their enemies with such ease, both male and female, came to be known as SSA, a deceivably simple term that literally meant reptilian beings, death of, or in a more understandable form, death from reptilian beings. Okay, got it, Matu thought to himself. Again, over the course of many eons, as it has happened before, through the title naturally appropriated to the SS warriors, people of other worlds came to use the term Sak for both the Reptilian warriors and the Reptilian people. So too, the stars and the home worlds of the Reptilian beings would become known as the Sak stars and Sak worlds. Matu understood and nodded to the elder. Knowing this, Matu, let us return to our list of terms and construct yet another group of names and titles that were used in the Reptilian Empire. But this time, let us construct the titles and terms of the Sak military of the Reptilian beings. As the epitome of the Sak warriors and she, the queen was known as the Sak, as the queen of the Sak warriors and the ultimate warriors. She was known as Her Majesty, the Queen Sak. Oh, great pronunciation, Sak. In some other words, she was known as Her Majesty Queen Saka. As the first and foremost Sak warrior, another way of saying the commander-in-chief, she was known as Sakiwa. As the royal commander-in-chief, she was known as the Sakiwa. As the highest Sak warrior, the commander-in-chief, the queen was known as the Sakiin. Assistant to the queen, her personal warrior staff were known as the Sakayem. Heads of state, in other words, were known as Sakien. Individual Sak warrior staff assistant to the head of state, in other words, were known as the Sakai. As a group of the warrior, the warrior staff assistant to the head of state were known as the Sakayem. Individual warrior of the queen were known as the Sakis, and warriors as a group were known as the Sakyu. Holy cow, Matu said to himself and he laughed furiously. How come so many titles? My God, that is stupid. I think it is stupid. So much stupid to me. Don't need all this nonsense. His list was getting longer and why don't make it so simple? Want to show off so much for what? Make things so difficult and complex. Why are there so many titles, Master? He ventures hero. Why not just one simple title name instead of all the confusion? That's why I know, because when the Her Majesty don't want to be one thing, he want to be one thing, she have this title. When she want to be another thing, she will change the name again or meanings. Each title reflected a function of the exactly, Matu, he answered. or the individual being addressed. Take for example how we address each other here on earth. When a ma enters the place where he works, a man enters the place where he works, he might be called manager or accountant or vice president. At home, the same man might be called husband or sweetheart. His children call him daddy or father, while his parents and siblings will call him son or brother. They are all the same man, Matu. It's the perspective of the person speaking that has assigned him a different title or name. Wow, Matu thought to himself, yes, well, I guess so, but it's still confusing. Sure, it's confused. Well, let us pass you on to another institution of the empire. So, we just would call her what she means to us, because her name is a code to what she's related to that person, to that being or creature, whatever. Well, let us pass on to another institution of the empire, Matu. Matu was really, perhaps there won't be so many names in this one, he thought. In the early ages of the empire, the queen who sat on the throne performed two separate and distinctive roles. One as the queen of the empire who ruled her subjects, and the other as the royal queen mother who gave birth to the royal offspring, the reptilian princes and princesses of the future. After the Night of Tears era, or timeline, of course, the focus was on the birthing of females, the future queens of the empire. All of the titles which we had been looking at, Matu, are titles of the queen and her role as the ruler of the empire. What we want to look at now are some of the titles of the queen and her role as the queen mother. Here we go again, Matu thought as he pulled out another sheet of paper. Motherhood was represented by the term Ma, the same root which we use on earth today as the epitome of the essence of motherhood. The queen as mother was called simply the Ma, but in her role as the royal mother, she was known to everyone as Her Majesty Queen Mama, the mother of mothers. Simply enough, thought Matu. Now, refer back to your list, Matu, I told him. Pull the titles with me. As the first mother and first citizen of the empire, she was known as Ma Yuar, or to put it more simply, the Great Ma. Ma in Latin means ocean. Ma. As the royal first citizen and the embodiment of motherhood, the Reptilian Empire, she was referred to as Her Majesty Queen Mara, or Her Majesty Queen Mah. Now refer back to your list, Matu. Petal him. Fold the title with me. As the first mother and first citizen of the empire, she was known as the Maru, or to put it more simple, Great Ma. Ma is sea, the sea in Latin. As the royal first citizen and the embodiment of motherhood in the Reptilian Empire, she was referred to as Her Majesty Queen Maru, Her Majesty Queen Mah. As the Queen Mother and the ultimate females of the empire, the Queen was known as Her Majesty Queen Mat. Mat means death in ancient Egyptian languages. And perhaps her most majestic and sweeping title as the Queen Mother of the realm, the ultimate female of the empire, and as the first and foremost female of the empire, the queen was known as Her Majesty Queen Mata. Mata, Mother. Matu was amazed. The revelation of the title of the queen opened up the door to the mysteries of where so many of the words came from. What is important to note here, Matu, emphasized, is that as the queen of the Reptilian Empire, one of the most powerful realms in the galaxy, the queen was the embodiment of the empire itself. To all of the beings in her realm, she was known as Her Majesty Queen Ma, the ocean, the sea, the queen of the galactic water. In time, the waters of heaven and the queen herself would be questioned in identity and in scope. Both would be addressed by the same title, Great Ma. Wow, Matu thought. Ma is the Latin word for ocean or sea. Sea. Ocean is ocean. Mar is sea. Beach is another thing. It's not called pra, it's another thing. Now let us look to our list again and try to construct the names and titles of the Queen's assistants, Matu. Matu took his list out again and another sheet of paper. Pair began again. The individual royal assistant to the Queen Mother were the Mahmahai. As a group, they were known as the Mahmaharem. And here is the Queen, revered by the Afro-Brazilian religion. If I don't mistake, was come from Africa. This and she's depicted as the Queen of the Ocean. And here is she. Okay. Also, she is a beautiful brown skinned woman. And many people have in Brazil, they keep this image, this portrait of her in their homes. It's very common to find this image in their homes. And her name is Iemanjá. I don't know whether it's correct or not, the accent, Iemanjá. And she is from this tradition is from Africa actually. Okay, and that's the queen. And there is a time, I don't know when, they offer for her offerings in the sea, can give her gold, flowers, etc. and throw on the sea. There's a cultural tradition in Brazil here. And in the sea, there's a lot of creatures over there. And all their subject, how to call the devotees. I don't know. I'm so detached from all this. I find it ridiculous. So here is your queen. Now let us look at your list again and try to construct the names and titles of the Queen's assistant, Matu. Matu took his list out again and another sheet of paper. Pair began again. The individual royal assistant to the Queen Mother were the Mahmahai. The group, they were known as the Mahmarim. Female head of state, in other words, were known as the Maran. Individual followers of the queen were known as the US or Maras. And the followers of the group are known as the Maru Peppers. Matu was still right and sat back. Matu finally stopped, didn't look up. Everyone's waiting for him to finish. I'm done, Master. Thank you for waiting for me. The mating of the Reptilian Queen Matu, Pep began again, was unlike the mating that we know about. Matu sat back, his eyes were wide open. Very interesting for him. Pep had his attention. When the queen mated Matu, she was able to carry the semen of her mate for the rest of her life. What? Matu was caught completely off guard. He sat up. Do you remember that I told you that the ancestors of the reptilian people were insect-like, almost like dragonflies and bees? And I loved to play with dragonflies as a child, because I found them so beautiful, so colorful, and I just loved them. And I live by a pond, a pond was near the wall that was near the garden in my backyard, my yard, and just beside there's a pond full of life and wildlife, and so I loved to catch them in that pond. And I was a idiot girl, little girl, 7-year-old, and I was very hyperactive, and I would play with the dragonfly, make him like a kind of kite. If you did not know it, Matu, the queen of the beehive here on earth, mates just once in her life. She carries the semen in a special pouch, and from that pouch she can fertilize all of the eggs she lays from that time on. So that means she just needs to mate once a lifetime, isn't it? Matu was amazed. When the reptilian humanoids evolved from the insect stages, the reptilian queen had retained her ability to do the same thing. She was able to keep the semen of every mate that she had ever been with. Oh my Lord! Did all of the reptilian females have that ability, Master? Matu asked. Yes, Matu teacher said, leaning forward. But there's a very important thing to remember, Matu. Matu leaned forward. All reptilian females have the ability to conceive and produce offspring, but only the queen can have royal offspring. Just like here on Earth, what's the difference? Okay, Matu thought to himself, I think I can understand that. You see, Matu, every egg that a queen lays, which is fertilized with the semen from her pouch, every one of them will become a female. I don't believe it will become a male. A female she can do by herself. She can just lay by herself. She can just let it go by herself. But if she wants a male, she needs to mate. It's the same thing as in here on Earth. A female carries the chromosome of only her mother and her mother's ancestral, down to how many generations back. Okay, her mother's, her grandmother, her great-great-mother's a female ancestral, had the bloodline of her mother only, maternal mitochondria. She cannot inherit the father's mitochondria. That one is the male. The male owns, carries on the mother and the father's side. The girls can only find out about her father through her brother, through her father, or through her paternal lineage. No mother, alright? Through her uncles, her father's uncles, or her father's brother, her father's father, her father's grandfather, her brother. She cannot take it from her sister or any others, so she doesn't carry the father chromosomes. Yeah, she carry one Y, yeah, correct, XXY, but the chromosome of the father is a special one. She doesn't carry that. So the queen, to have a boy, she need to be fertilized. To have a girl, she can have her anytime, with or without the males. There's something not correct here. And another thing, let me see, I forgot my line of thought again. Yeah, in a human, we females, if we want a girl, okay, now I'm fertilized, okay, I am in a let's say I'm in a fertile period. It starts today. If I want a boy, a son, I must immediately mate with a man. Immediately. I cannot wait for tomorrow, after tomorrow, because it's when the male's sperm has more the XXY during this period. After that, the males and the female eggs will let it go more XXY, not XY, XXY, after one day. So if you are a woman who want to have a boy child, she must immediately have sex as soon as she find out that she is fertilized, she is in a fertile period, okay? But girl, she must carry on. She can mate the whole week until it's over her fertile period to get a girl. But a boy, you must immediately, because that chromosome, that zygote, is not very strong to hold on. The male is very weak. They look tough, muscular, bigger size, but their chromosome is very weak. Maybe not original. I don't know. They are not original. The females are lasting. So the mitochondria is the original one, come from the females, but everything here has been distorted. So all reptilian female have the ability to conceive and produce offspring, but only the queen cannot. Okay, but when do males come from then? See, Matu, every queen lives fertilized in the semen from her pouch. Every one of them will become a female. Everyone, master? Matu said incredulously. Yes, everyone. Same here on earth. It's just like in here. It's more female because the females is stronger. As I say, the zygote, they produces more XXY, XXY, 2XY, not 1X. But where do the males come from then, master? Matu asked his elder. The males, Matu, Pepper said, the males come from eggs which are not fertilized. Lie, that's the females, moron, the females. He's distorting here. Matu had to sit back. What? The eggs are not fertilized, master. He was confused. Liar. Very bluff liar. That's right, Matu. The males born to the queen, her sons, have no father. The egg they come from was not fertile unless this special creature is the opposite of us human. During the time of creation, the quarks, the atoms create something different, okay? So In this context, these creatures, reptilian creatures or insectoid, whatever, their originality is more male oriented, more about males. That means the mother can have males with or without a man, but not here on earth. Okay, here on earth, the female is more, let's say, is more unfertilized than the males, the female embryo, because she can, that embryo, that zygote or chromosomes, whatever, it can last longer than, as I explained before, can last much longer than the XY, which lasts only 1 day, just like a mosquito life, just 1 day die. Okay, so that means what? That the humans female are more original than the reptilian females. The reptilian females are not special because they needed a father. Without father they cannot be created, unlike the humans need a father. But then what I'm trying to explain is that here on earth, the males are not just more weak, but they are kind of, you know, something rarity. Not say that they don't have in high number, they have in high number. The males here are only sporadic in a little, they are demographically low in numbers when there is wars. But right now the wars are against females, feminicide. They are trying to kill more the females. Okay, so the ratio, if things continue going like this, the ratio in the future, from here to 20 years from now, there will be 5 males for 1 female, 10 males to 1 for 1 females, based on the ratios that we are having here on planet of feminicides, of woman killings. Okay, so yeah, theirs is different from mice. They need to fertilize the eggs to create a female. Here, yeah, it can, but it's not very important. The male is, the male really needs the father. No father, then become very difficult for them to carry that the paternal mitochondria, or not mitochondria, the mother, the chromosome, father chromosome. But the eggs are not fertilized. Okay, that's the way of the royal families, Matu. Matu one species. The males have no father. Believe it or not, to this day the bees of our earth behave in the same way. The bees, not the human. Human need the father. The boys need the father exclusively. The drones, mother and father, half to half. The females are totally the mother. The drones of a hive are born from eggs that are not fertilized. But Matu continued to spurt. And the females, Matu, they interrupted him. The females are born display an aura and a scent that all other reptilians can feel and smell. I can really smell her. No other females carry themselves with smell like a royal female. Matu was completely stunned. Do they smell of flowers? The royal male offspring of the Reptilian Queen have no father. And that's what called a hatching kid. Incubator kid. And the royal female offspring have a distinct sense to them. And a distinct smell. It is one of the most interesting scents one can ever encounter, and it's an aura that is visually irresistible. Oh my goodness. I just can visualize things. There are few males of any species that can resist the allure of a royal reptilian female. Holy cow! Holy cow! The queens of the Cab Empire, as their ancestors had done before them, always mated with the strongest and most powerful males. In the primordial days, the reptilian insect ancestral queens soared into the sky to find the strongest and most able males. In later times, when the cab humanoids evolved, rituals were conducted in which the most able males were pitted in contests with each other, just like what happened here on Earth. Running, jumping, performing feats of strength and fighting with each other until one male proved himself to be the best. As a part of the reward, he was given the opportunity to mate with the queen, and she would carry his seed with her for the rest of her life. This contest, Matu, is what has inspired the creation of the contest between males here on Earth. Imagine this creature carrying sperm. The original purpose of the competition was to producing a fit mate for the queen of the stars of heaven. No wonder I have this vision in 2003 about some creature that carries one pocket, and in this pocket, I don't want to tell, it's very like perverted. I don't want to tell, but there in this sponge contains semen. Matu stood up. He could bear no more. Master, wait! He almost shouted. The birth of a male child without a father. I mean, if that, I guess he stuttered and stopped. He could not find the words to continue. Pen nodded to him. Yes, Matu, he answered without being asked. The birth of a male child who has no father. A male child who is the son of the divine being. Yes, Matu. That's the foundation of the story of the Christ child. Ta-da! Here's the Reptilian guy. See? He's the, some would say he's the stepson, some would say he's the son, okay? On the side they say the Holy Ghost, the Father. Never say the Mother because they want to write it off. Name the Father, the Holy Ghost, the Spirit Son. Rings a bell, huh? But the guy who I see is not here. I saw this guy of him, but he was wearing all black. He's a black guy wearing all black, not a robe, a suit, just like the Men in Black. And I don't know anything about Men in Black, Matrix. I don't watch movie. I don't like. I have no patience. I didn't know about it, and this guy just appeared to me. They want to harm me with this being here, and he always walked with this being. He was not like YT like that, huh? He's a liar, He's he looks like a the North African people, like Tunisian, Arabic. Yeah, he looked like that, a little bit like that, a little bit, but I would guess that's darker than that. He's a North African looks. I mean, his avatar here on that. Avatar. I would say a little bit like that, but this one is Barnabas. This is Barnabas. Barnabas. That's not Jesus. Yeah, a bit like that. That's the man. Okay, but he will not show his face to me, but I see the color of his skin and his hair like that. I saw it many times. Not one time, not two, three, many times I've seen. And he always came in menacing, angry at me, always angry. So his phenotype, is like that, his avatar is like that. It's not a white guy, Okay, that's the Jesus, but it's not this feature like that. I mean the phenotype, the skin, the hair, etc. I'm not talking about the feature. The feature is different. The features, semblance is different. So best, I mean that I guess yes, Matu answered without being asked. The birth of a male child who has no father, a male child who is the son of a divine being. Divine being? Yes, Matu, that's the foundation of the story of the Christ child. Jesus, Matu was beside himself. Jesus, the story of Jesus, Master. And the story of Buddha and other prophets, definition the taught for him, Prophet Muhammad, the story of the son of the supreme being born of no human father. It's based on the real story of the reptilian royal mother and her male offspring. Matu was absolutely stunned. Huh? Why he say here male offspring? Oh, male offspring, not her male mate, not her mate. Now remember this much, the queen could have mated as very young female and never mated again. To people of other worlds who might never have seen her mate, Chet, who become pregnant and give birth, they would have thought she was a virgin. Matu almost shouted. They would think it was an immaculate conception and that she was a virgin. Holy cow, he thought to himself. Holy cow, of course. Masape. Matu looked pleadingly at his mentor. How can we ever tell the story to the rest of the world? Who can we tell? They want to listen. They want to hear you. So what? I don't care anymore. I just tell the story. They want to listen on up to them. Suddenly, he stopped himself. He remembered his voice. He sat down again. I'm sorry, Master, he apologized. Matu stared at his notes. He was shaking his head. Peck could see the anguish of the revelation in Matu's eyes. He was deceived by religion. He remembered how he had reacted and how he had felt when he had first heard the story. It was exhilarating. It was painful. The truth was almost devastating at the time. Yeah, I know. I have this breakup in 1999. I know. I got sick for 1 week with fever and terrible headache because I couldn't digest all that. I was in shock. It was between 99 up to 2020 exactly. It was my breakthrough. And I can tell you that the pain is, the emotional pain, the feeling of deception is terrible. How well he knew the feelings Matu must be enduring at that moment. Pes sent Matu out to walk in the trees. It was time for a break. Hours later, Matu returned to the library. Pes was sitting examining a few unsigned textbooks in front of him. Matu sat down and pulled out his note. pair continued to read. Matu was not sure he was ready, but the master had insisted they continue read. They continue. The walk had allowed him to vent some frustration. It had helped. Finally, Matu looked at the elder, wondering if he knew that he had returned. Throughout her lifetime, Pe began again, without looking up. The queen mated only with the finest males of the empire. This ensured that her offspring would have only the finest genetic material in their makeup. This is also ensured that the royal mating was always vigorous and enduring, so like a lioness. I'll bet, Matu thought to himself. Primate elites. Yes, vigorous, I'm sure that's right. But in time, Matu, the running of the empire with its thousands of worlds and its huge number of people, even though the queen have the most able administrators, the run of the empire and the bearing of children became far too difficult for the queen. And perhaps more importantly, it became a task that the queen simply did not wish to go through anymore. I understand. I can fit on her shoes. At her command, the scientists of the empire came up with a solution. It had always been the practice of the queens who ascended to the throne to terminate the life of the queen who had preceded her, just like the bees, my gosh, just like the bees in some other insects. Even though the Syrian queen had very likely been her own mother, but now the deposed queen could serve a purpose. Reptilian scientists were instructed to remove the eggs and the semen from her matings out of the body of the queen who sat on the throne. Once removed, the eggs and semen were transplanted into the womb of the elder queen. My gosh, how cruel is that? The poor elderly is supposed to rest by now. What a idiot, what a evil daughter she is. Evil, no respect, just like some evil being here on earth. I tell that, okay? That's true. Evil. No respect to your mother. In this way, the genetic material was taken from the queen in power and transplanted to the closest compatible surrogate, her own mother. And even though the elder queen carried and delivered the offspring, they were also still the genetic children born of the eggs of the queen sitting on the throne. With this procedure, the queen of the empire was freed to spend her time in pursuit of the activities which were crucial to the welfare of the realm. Now let me stop here for a while to analyze this. Her mother, the queen's mother, the throne queen's mother, first produced her eggs, carried the sperm of all the mates she made to it, and then she birthed all the embryos that she could muster. After she was deposed, or she was already retired from her duty, she passed it all to her daughter. The then appointed the queen to the throne. It's just like if the Princess Elizabeth's mother, the queen's mother, had placed all her eggs and other things inside her daughter, the Queen Elizabeth. It's just a analogy. So she takes her eggs and her sperm and places inside her daughter. Now her daughter do her duty, but now she say enough. I cannot carry it anymore. I'm not to do it anymore. I'm done. I'm just done. Enough. She takes the sperm. She calls her associate, her scientists, doctors, whatever, asked to take away that pocket of sperm, of semen, from her mates, take away her eggs and deposit inside her mother, back to her mother again. Oh my God, what is that? And pleasurable to herself. So she decided, oh, I'm just gonna have fun and more fun, and I don't want anymore to give birth. Matu wandered around. Once the empire then possessed the two queens, master. Yes, Matu, said. There was the queen of the empire, who was the ultimate source of power in the realm, the daughter. And now, now you want to come here and tell her this is a god, that she's the creator of all, that she was the force, the prime creator. Oh, Palisa, who you want to fool? If she has a mother, who has a mother, who has a mother, who has a grandmother, who has a great mother, who is she to say that she was the first created from the void? Have you no shame to be so stupid and doesn't rationalize at this level? Oh, police. That was the queen of the empire, who was the ultimate source of power in the realm. And the worst part is that those people who have this idea are males. Understand? And the queen mother, who was the bearer of the royal offspring, but who had only minimal power and guided the affair because she's retired. And she should also be retired to giving birth, enough for her. She's old already, and guided the affairs of the empire. She was simply the queen mother. The queen mother, Matu smiled. Holy cow, the queen mother. So that's where it came from. The Reptilian queen who sat on the throne of the empire always took the name Aya, a name which simply means the first or the one. As the queen, she was of course known as Her Majesty Queen AA Matu. Continued. Over billions of years, the title AA came to be known to some beings, in other words, as Her Majesty Queen Aya. Aya. Amazing, Matu thought to himself. Ella in Spanish means she. Aya. Wow. And here's a fact that you must remember in your studies, Matu. Not only in Spanish, elle. And in French is she. Ella. With just one L in Portuguese also is she. And in Italian, I don't know, maybe it's Ella also. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's Ella in Italian, I'm not sure. Pay stressed to the young man the curious construction of the mouth and throat of the reptilian beings often result in the T sound being pronounced, a sort of L sound. The name Aya sometimes sounds like Allah. Allah. Rings a bell, Allah. That happens in some Spanish language, master, Matu added. That's correct, Matu smiled. The double L in the Spanish word for yellow, amarillo. How they pronounce amarillo, I don't know. It's pronounced as Y. You are absolutely correct, Matu beamed. So remember, continued. The name of the Syrian queens is A or Aya, but in some cases the name came to be as Allah. And I call my cat Aya. I don't know where it comes from. Suddenly I have to call her this way. The young apprentice wrote it down. Now, Aya in nothing. Aya is named Aya in Malay means father. that be mother's father. The young princess wrote it down. Now, I do not wish to confuse you, but there is one more variation of the name of the queen that you should be aware of. In the Ashanti languages of humankind, the sound of the letter L was often interchanged with the sound of the letter R. I knew that, Matu thought to himself. Yeah, and they changed the B for the V and vice versa. Sometimes you'll hear the name, I love you very much. I love you. Sometimes you'll hear the name pronounced or you'll see the name written down in the Ashanti languages of man with the L and R sounds changed. Chinese can pronounce the L as R and the R as L. Sounds a bell? Rings a bell? They can say like, okay, they're gonna say pork belly rice. Okay, pork belly rice. They say pork belly lice. Pork belly lice. They changed the L for the R. Sounds changed. Thus, the name of the other words. The first reptilian influences were very suppressive. Instead of administrators, perhaps the better choice of word would be overlord, an iron-handed, ruthless overlord. And for the most part, Matu, remember, they were females. Now, can you tell me what the title have been for the heads of state appointed by the queen? They were the elder stopped to wait for Matu to complete the thought. The female heads of state would be the Ayam. Ayam in Malay means chicken. And the other names, Matu, I ask. They could have been known as the Alahan or the Arahan or Ara. Matu replied, correct, Matu, but the reptilian overlords or other words became known as the Ara-ends or the Allah-ends. Pep paused and looked at Matu. Matu knew that he was about to make a point. Consider this, Matu, Pep began. Beings from the stars were known to the people of other worlds as the Allah-ends. Matu listened to the words. Beings from outer space are Allah-ends. Allah-ends. Suddenly it hit him. Allah-ends. Aliens. Beings from outer space were aliens. But wait. There he wondered. How can it be that a word that may be millions of years old can be almost the same as a word that we use in contemporary language like English? Would the word not have changed or at least have been spoken in an ancient language instead of the language of today? No, because they changed timeline and everything from commerce, from social system, sciences, economy, and geopolitics has to change, and so will the linguistic aspect of it. Pei smiled. Yes, Matu. It would sense that the word should properly be found in the ancient languages of long ago. But you should also be aware that the systems put into use in other words were tools that had been developed and refined over billions of years. And the wonder of a system that works over billions of years is that it maintains a core of rules, exactly, and institutions that are visually unchanging. Or sometimes they can change. They don't change in certain place, but they will be new for new colonizing planets or systems. With the ferocity of the enforcement of the systems put into play by the reptilians, you will find that a rule, a law, a method of government, and even the words used will be nearly the same on all other worlds. They will exist in almost the same form, allowing only for environmental adaptations. They will be put into operations in almost the same fashion. In the words, Matu, particularly the key words will be visually unchanged because of either time or location. Back up to look at Matu. Because of they invade, they form new world, new system, and then they bring their old system and all the values to, or this value, whatever, to that new conquered system that invaded the world. What I'm saying, Matu, is that the sound of a word like Allah N will be nearly the same on all other words, and it will survive the test of time, simply because of the ruthless efficiency of the system. The system, Matu, was nearly flawed. The enforcement of a system that would endure thousands of different words and millions of years speaks to the extreme efficiency of the system and the total enforcement of the system. My God, are they that true? He wondered. Throughout the other worlds, Matu, the Araan were the iron-handed symbols of the power of the AST Empire. As a result, the population of the other worlds began to apply the name of the reptilians of the lords, the Araan, to all reptilian people and to the empire itself. And that's why the central words of the Reptilian Empire came to be known as the word of the Araan, and the entire empire itself was known as Araan. Today we call them the stars of Orion. Oh my God, Matu said slowly. Orion, Aran, the star of the reptilian people, are the stars of Orion. But wait, Master, excuse me, I still wonder, how can the name Orion, the name of the stars in English, how can that have been the name of the stars in ancient times? Would it not have been something else? Yes. The AST name for the star of Orion and the annals of humankind is actually an Akkadian name, Matu. It is pronounced Uruana. And there's a fish in the Amazon called Arowana. And as you can see, even though the name is millions of years old, it remains a near match for the name Arahan.